Good morning! Great morning! Fantastic, marvelous morning! I can breathe. I were chosen this day, this moment, to be in the present, breathing in the breath of our God, our Creator. What a fantastic experience. And for that, I give him praise, honor, glory, and most importantly, the acknowledgement because I'm aware that he is the God of my understanding. Welcome to January the 16th, Perspective with Edwina B, Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops lady, as you can see. Why? Now you have to stay tuned. On my perspective on the AA Daily Reflections, today's topic, hitting bottom, incorporating the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family. I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud and grateful member for 32 plus years. And if it is God's will that I be chosen to wake up on February the 23rd of 2023, we will be celebrating 33 years. 33 years from addiction, alcoholism, prostitution, and the whole lifestyle, right? And I need to also say that I don't represent the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family, but I've incorporated their spiritual wisdom into my 12 spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm on fire. Yes, I am. To God be the glory. So before I go on, I want to ask you for a moment of silence with me while we listen to the words of Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. Underneath that parked car, darn near 33 years ago, it was his grace and mercy, yes, that saved a wretch like me. Turn your radio off, your TV, your phone, and let's meditate on the words. If he did it for me, he can do it for you. My goal is to just touch one. I'm staying sober, and my goal is to help one more person achieve sobriety and the spiritual transformation that the 12 spiritual principles can avail to you. Now, incorporating the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family. Moment of meditation. In this moment, because for you, I want to thank you and praise you. Praise your grace, grace and mercy. Oh Lord. Your grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment because of you. I want to praise you and thank you too, for it was your grace and your mercy that brought me through. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, and now I see. Thank you for joining me in that moment of silence. And if we really internalize those words, amazing grace, right? How sweet the sound. But your grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment because of you, which brings me to our topic today, right? Of hitting bottom from the AA Daily Reflections, right? Incorporating the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family. So on February the 22nd of 1990, getting high and doing all kinds of sexual favors for my stepson. Him and I were both 34 at the time and in our severe addiction. After everything was said and done and over, he proceeded to harm me like any bitch in the street. And when I am fearful, like many of you, we run. And I jumped out that car. He was able to hit me one time. Then I started running. As I ran, I got a flashback from my past that if I just get underneath the bed, I won't be harmed. And when I saw the slew of parked cars, I said, if I just get underneath those cars, one car, he won't be able to get to me. And I put myself underneath that parked car. 3 o'clock in the morning, the streets of Philadelphia. Yes, having the self loathing of it. Lena, what is wrong with you? The flashbacks of my past. How did I voted one of the most likely to succeed in high school? The class vice president, co-captain of the cheerleader team, had aspirations of being a model, a phys ed teacher. How did I get underneath this parked car during my addiction? The rapes, the beat ups, the setups, being passed around like a bucket, called all kinds of names. My family don't know who I am. My children embarrassed by me, and I'm just saying it, Weena, what's wrong with you? And whatever force it is that is still here entered my spirit, into my soul, and I was able to cry out these words from this humiliating experience. And that I just can't live no more. I can't live one more second like this. And I just can't cry. I cried out, whoever they say you are, whoever they say you are, take me out this life now or show me a better way. Take me out this life now or show me a better way. I don't know you, but I heard about you, but they told me you was a punishing God. But please take me out this life now or show me a better way. Underneath that parked car, my hair was short. My skin was dark. My face was sunken in. I had no teeth, right? Because cocaine, alcohol, drugs, and the whole 9 yards, right? Robbed me of all those things. And I felt then that God accepted me just the way I was. He met me underneath that parked car when I called him, and he revealed himself, and he chose not to take me out, but to put me on a pathway of recovery, and I haven't looked back since. And so for me, total transparency is the key. Total authenticity is the key. I need to remain humble as I possibly can so that I don't forget where I came from and where he delivered me from in order to prepare me to sit before you today. And so, listen, I've learned to take off the mask. Where, where? I don't need the makeup. I don't need the wig. Mm-mm, mm-mm, no, 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 no. Oh, I don't even need these. And I know some of y'all think, what the? But it doesn't matter what you think. It's what matters is how I feel. I feel free. I feel transparent. I feel authentic because it is not the body, it is the spirit that's being used to deliver a message of hope by sharing my own experience, strength, hope, and perspective to someone else. Free from recovery, emerge empowered to give hope, help others prosper equally. So I only need these to articulate and pronunciate. So let's get back to the topic today. You love me? I hope you do. I love you, and I definitely love me. And guess what? We are all about love. It's all about love and the truth. The truth. All right. Now, let me put my glasses back on, all right? And so we can start with the topic today. So I'm going to have a cup of coffee with my boy, Billy D, right? Let's take a sip, okay? And let's dive in. Listen, I can do like this, right? I love my black and white. Oh, yes. So let's dive into the topic today, okay? So I want you to open up your spiritual ears. I said put them on last night, right? Yesterday, but you can't put them on. I need you to open up your spiritual ears, right? And I want you to open up your spiritual eyes, right? And practice, right? Marinating, deciphering, committing, performing surgery on these words. And I'll come back and we can do all that together, right? So the reading for the day, hitting bottom. Anybody know what that means? Let's see what the version of Alcoholics Anonymous says about it. All right. All right, so let's go here. And let's go here. And let's move this. And before I do that, wait a minute, y'all. Wait a minute. Let me say happy birthday to my sister, right? I want to say happy 50th birthday, Helen Sabrina Hall in Augusta, Georgia, to let you know your family loves you. Past, present, and future family members, happy 50th birthday to my sister slash niece, Helen Sabrina Hall. To God be the glory. All right, so let's get to the topic today. And let's remove this and let's read. It says January the 16th, AA Daily Reflection, right? Hitting bottom. And this comes from aa.org. So please do your own research. And I'm going to be including the 5 agreements when we dissect this topic for today. And so our co-founder, Bill W., takes a quote from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions on page 24. And the quote reads, why all this insistence that every AA must hit bottom first? The answer is that few people will sincerely try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. For practicing AA's remaining 11 steps means the adoption of attitudes and actions that almost no alcoholic who is still drinking can dream of taking. And the person in recovery shares his perspective. Hitting bottom opened my mind, and I became willing to try something different. What I tried was AA. My new life in the fellowship was a little like learning how to ride a bike for the first time. AA became my training wheels and my supporting hand. It's not that I wanted the help so much at the time. I simply did not want to hurt like that again. My desire to avoid hitting bottom again was more powerful than my desire to drink. In the beginning, that was what kept me sober. But after a while, I found myself working the steps to the best of my ability. I soon realized that my attitudes and actions were changing, if ever so slightly. One day at a time, I became comfortable with myself and others, and my hurting started to heal. Thank God for the training wheels and supporting hand that I choose to call Alcoholics Anonymous. Hitting bottom. Did you hear that, huh? How many of you can relate to a time in your life, past or present, that you were at your wits' end? You were at your bottom. Can you remember and recall that feeling of devastation, of degradation, of humiliation, that you couldn't go any further? You were at the bottom. I can't do this anymore. Whatever it is, it was. I surrender. I surrender all. And for me, that was underneath that parked car nearly 33 years ago, where I surrendered all. I was spiritually bankrupt. I was spiritually empty. I was spiritually naked, right? I was spiritually devastated to the point where I wanted whoever this creator was to take me out this life because I can't go any further. My face was literally on the ground underneath that parked car. So I don't know what your bottom is, but they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, and we're going to go back to the reading, why all of us must have a knee bowing experience to the point where we call out and we cry out for help. And there's only one source of that help. And that is the creator who created us all and everything about us. So let's dissect the reading, including the incorporating the 5 agreements. Okay, it says here, hitting bottom. Okay. Why all this insistence that every AA must hit bottom first? Okay. All right. So people in Alcoholics Anonymous, we find out that we try many ways, forms to stop drinking. We substituted one drink for another drug for another drug. We kept a reservation, right? In other words, we did everything we could to keep getting high. But the more we kept getting high, the more unmanageable our life became, right? And the more of the disease of alcoholism enslaved us beyond control, right? And so it says, why this insistence that every AA must hit bottom first? Okay, here's the answer. The answer is that few people will sincerely try to practice the AA program unless they have hit bottom. Okay. And so many of us, when we come to Alcoholics Anonymous, we have no idea what it's about. No idea what rehabs are. No idea. Some of us, right? Like me. And so when all else has failed, and the creator, through whatever means he had to, introduced us to Alcoholics Anonymous, a 12-step program offering 12 spiritual principles. 12 spiritual principles. Most of the time, if not all of the time, we were coming from our humanistic nature, right? And so the insistence that we had to hit bottom is because, no one sincerely wants to admit that they are defeated, right? But underneath that parked car, how humiliating can that be? Where it got me to the point of total surrender, right? To take me out this life or show me a better way, right? So he says here, practicing the remaining AA 11 steps means the adoption of attitudes and actions that almost no alcoholic who is still drinking can dream of taking. All right. And so when I think about my pattern of drinking, how it started one way, well, always ended up the same way. Whatever intentions I had, wherever I was going to go, whatever I was going to do, it always ended the same. Right? Always. It was nothing different. And that's how we ask people to get in touch with your pattern, get in touch with your habits. I did, and I found out no matter what, those actions and those attitudes never produced anything positive. And what it did was put me underneath that park car. So now that I was chosen to be a part of Alcoholics Anonymous 12 spiritual principles, I had an opportunity to adopt, to embrace, to internalize, right? To evaluate, to practice these new attitudes and actions by the 12 spiritual principles. Donald Lawrence says it so eloquently. We are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings living and walking this natural experience. And the Five Agreements talks about that so profoundly, but yet simply and using common sense. We are love. We are about the truth. That's why I can sit before you with no teeth, no makeup on, because I love me today. Why? Because God loves me. Our Creator loves you. And we're going to do something to help one another, right? Right? Realize that. And that's why I'm sitting here before you today, all right? So the person in recovery, he goes on to say, hitting bottom opened my mind and I became willing to try something different. If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? And so what I'm perceiving from him underneath that parked car for me opened up my mind, and I was willing to try something different if it was God's will that he let me live. Other than that, I didn't want to be here after trying to commit suicide several times, right? And so one of the things that the Five Agreements talk about is I was at that time, I wanted to be impeccable with my word. I did not want to drink. I did not want to die. I did not want to use drugs, and I'm not. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm not going to sin against me, and I'm not going to sin against others. I am being impeccable with my word from underneath that park car when I said I surrender. Okay? And so when we talk about the 12 spiritual principles, right? It says, what I tried was AA. What I tried was AA, right? Right? And so he says, hitting bottom, open up his eyes. He need to do something different. And so a lot of people say, well, Alcoholics Anonymous is the last door on the block. And guess what? It is true. Because all those other doors prepared us, right, to get to the door, the truth, that we need help. Yes, we cannot do it by ourselves. And so all those other doors was just practice for us to come to that last door where we totally surrender. I believe that when we surrender, we only surrender once. It didn't matter what people said about me. It didn't matter what I said about me. I saw that I didn't need to take nothing personally. I needed to do something different. And I tried Alcoholics Anonymous, and guess what? I ain't going nowhere. And now with the 5 agreements, oh, hell to the no. How about that? All right. And so it goes on to say, right? It says here, my new life in the fellowship was a little like learning how to ride a bike for the first time. Huh? Right? Trying AA, right? Right? It was like, right, riding a bike for the very first time. You remember that? You remember that? The fear, right? Ooh, the hesitation, right? The nervousness, all of that, right? But what he says here, after having his, after becoming open-minded and wanting to try something different, right? He saw that the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous provided him a new life, right? And the same thing on the same analogy of riding a bike, right? AA became my training wheels and my supporting hand. So you remember getting on that you first, and the training wheels, you roll over, but you didn't fall, right? And then you had to hold on for dear life, right? That's Alcoholics Anonymous for the alcoholic who has a desire to stop drinking. We have to get on that bike that has training wheels and supporting hands. You are not doing it alone, right? And I love this perspective that he's used, right? And then it says here, it's not that I wanted the help so much at the time. I simply did not want to hurt like that again. Oh, that is key. Because somewhere, somehow in our mind, at the moment we are hurting the most. We are hurting the most, right? Is when we recognize that I don't want this pain no more. I don't want this pain no more. And so at that moment, there is a surrender. But just as quickly as there is surrender, that other thing is said, I think I can do it by myself. I think I can do it by myself. But guess what? You can't. And time proven over and over again will demonstrate that you can, right? But I understand most of us don't realize we really want the help. But guess what? Keep on reading, right? It says here, my desire to avoid hitting bottom again was more powerful than my desire to drink. Woo! My desire to avoid hitting bottom again, right? My desire to avoid hitting bottom again was greater than my desire to drink. I do not want to get back underneath that park car. I'm impeccable with my word. I'm not going to take anything personally. I'm not going to give anything or anybody that much power, not even myself, to put me back underneath that car. No, I am not. My desire to stay sober and to help another alcoholic far ways a drink. Are you kidding me? For what? Oh, hell to the no, right? Why do I want to assume that the next time it's going to be different? That's one of the 5 agreements, making assumptions. But many of us kept making assumptions. I'll do it differently. If I do it this way, I know this is going to work. I know he's going to turn me on. I know he's got me. Oh, no, 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 no. Right? And as a result of having the desire to avoid hitting bottom again, I want to fall and I want to stumble, which I know I am, but it's going to be in a forward position and not going back. Right? All right. So I got 3 minutes. Okay. Then he says here, right? In the beginning, that was what kept me sober. He's saying that the desire to avoid hitting bottom again, and we say keeping it green. As long as we keep it green, we don't want to go back. That's why I can share, like it was 3 o'clock this morning underneath that parked car. I remember as if it happened this morning. And so that keeps it green for me. I don't want to go back there, right? So that desire for most of us kept us coming back of keeping it green. All right. All right. So, and guess what? Also, with the 5 agreements, it says, right, because I don't want to drink again. I'm not going to take anything personally, right? I'm not going to make assumptions. I'm going to do the best I can, just 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, 1 hour at a time, because of this new life and having the desire to live, and not a desire to die. I no longer have that desire. I don't even have a fear of dying, right? All right, so let's keep on going. Let's keep on going, right? And so then he goes on to say, right? But after a while, I found myself working the steps to the best of my ability, right? To the best of my ability. That's the fourth agreement, right? Right? Do your best. Always do your best. And so when I began to incorporate, internalize, utilize the 12 spiritual principles, I did it to the best of my ability. Now incorporating the five agreements, I definitely am going to do my best. Every time I get a chance to perform an action, have an attitude of gratitude, I'm going to do the best that I can. All right. Oh, I got a minute, right? So then he says here, right? Um, I soon realized that my attitudes and actions were changing, if ever so slightly. Right? One day at a time, I became comfortable with myself and others, and my hurting started to heal. Right? Oh my God, right? Slowly but surely, practicing the same thing, right? Creatures of habit, right? Adopting new attitudes, new behaviors. But first, we had to find out through our four-step inventory where those negative attitudes, ideas, belief systems started, by whom and what conditions or what circumstances, and realize where that got us. Me underneath that park car where I wanted something different. And I found it in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous with these 12 spiritual principles, now incorporating the five agreements by the Ruiz family. All right. And it says, thank God for the training wheels and supporting hand that I choose to call Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't care what you call it. I'm sober today. I love myself today. I am spiritually stronger than I've ever been, right? For the purpose of staying sober and helping just one more. Just one more. Is that person you? Is it you? Because if he did it for me, he can do it for you. Join me again tomorrow if God decides to bring you and me to a brand new day. Keep the faith. Practice, practice, practice. Hmm? Right? Be skeptical, right? Huh? Don't take anything anybody says, right? Personally, right? Huh? Conditions is what keep us sick. But loving ourselves and others unconditionally, like our Father does, is the key to true freedom, surrender, and peace.